Welcome to this explainer. Today we're diving straight into a totally crucial administrative task, one that literally protects your mobility and safety out there in the Grand Canyon State. We are talking about the complete step-by-step process for renewing and replacing your disabled parking placard right here in Arizona. Now, I want you to picture something for just a second. Imagine trying to navigate a massive, sprawling hospital campus, or maybe a giant retail parking lot right in the dead middle of an Arizona summer. Now imagine doing all of that without your priority parking access because, oops, your credential lapsed. For so many folks, that's not just a minor annoyance, right? It's a genuine health risk involving extreme heat exposure and serious physical exhaustion. And hey, beyond the physical toll, there is a pretty massive financial one too. $250 to $500. Yeah, you heard me right. That is the steep, absolutely mandatory fine for a first-time offense if you park in an accessible space without a valid current credential hanging from your mirror. And honestly, that doesn't even factor in the total nightmare and cost of getting your car towed. So to help us avoid all of that headache, here's our roadmap for today's explainer. First, why your placard matters. Second, eligibility and placard types. Third, our step-by-step renewal guide. Fourth, troubleshooting common issues. And finally, some final tips and a disclaimer. Let's jump in. Section 1. Why your placard matters. The physical and legal stakes of accessibility. Maintaining a valid placard really isn't just about snagging that premier parking spot close to the door. It is absolutely about preserving your daily independence. Having an up-to-date placard provides some seriously critical health benefits. We're talking shorter walking distances for anyone managing cardiac limits or shortness of breath. It gives you the necessary and much safer transfer space you need for loading and unloading wheelchairs, scooters, and walkers. Plus, it significantly cuts down your exposure to that brutal desert heat and drastically lowers the risk of falls for patients dealing with balance issues or neuropathy. And of course, as we just covered, it keeps you fully legally compliant. Moving right along to Section 2, eligibility and placard types. Essentially knowing what kind of credential you actually have. Now, the absolute biggest source of confusion for Arizona drivers is the critical difference in the paperwork between temporary and permanent placards. Listen closely here. If you have a red temporary placard, it's valid for exactly 6 months. That's it. It cannot just be magically renewed. You actually have to apply all over again from scratch with a totally fresh medical certification. But if you have a blue permanent placard, well, under Arizona's modernized rules, those actually don't have an expiration date anymore. You literally only need to navigate a replacement process if your blue placard gets lost, stolen, or somehow damaged. So you might be wondering who actually qualifies for this. Well, in Arizona, eligibility isn't just about having some specific medical diagnosis jotted down on a chart somewhere. It's really based on what's called a functional walking impairment. The clinical threshold for this means an applicant is literally unable to walk 200 feet without having to stop and rest. It also covers folks who require portable oxygen, maybe have a class 3 or 4 cardiac condition, or are dependent on an assistive device, like a cane, a wheelchair, or even another person, just to walk safely. And knowing exactly who can legally vouch for your condition, that's half the battle right there. You're going to need a signature from an authorized medical professional. Licensed physicians and registered nurse practitioners have a really broad scope and can certify almost all functional walking limitations. But pay attention here. Chiropractors are limited strictly to orthopedic-related issues, and physical therapists can only certify functional movement and assistive device dependency. Okay, let's shift gears to the execution phase and see how to put all this into action. Section 3. Step-by-step renewal guide. Navigating Form 96-0104 and the MVD systems. All right, the master key to literally everything we're talking about today is ADOT Form 96-0104. This one single application is the golden ticket, whether you're establishing a brand new temporary placard or requesting a replacement for your permanent blue one. But watch out for this massive pitfall. The medical professional's signature absolutely has to be a physical signature or a legally verified electronic one. If they just slap a rubber stamp on your form to sign it, the MVD will immediately reject it, no exceptions. Now, if you just need to replace a lost or damaged permanent blue placard, the digital route is incredibly efficient. You don't even need to go see your doctor again. You just sign in or authenticate your identity right on the AZMVD Now portal online. From there, navigate over to Disability Placard Replacement under the Vehicle Services tab. The system does the heavy lifting. It automatically cross-references your identity with their active medical database. If your original record gets verified, boom! The MVD simply fulfills the request and drops your new placard in the mail, sent directly to your registered address in a plain envelope. It is seriously that seamless. But wait, what if you are renewing a 6-month temporary red placard? Or maybe the digital system just can't find your record for some reason. Well, then you've got to take the analog path. First, you'll obtain and fill out the applicant section of Form 9610-4 yourself. Next, you have to get an authorized medical professional to evaluate you and sign that certification. Once that's done, you submit it. You can mail it off to the Special Plates Unit at their Phoenix P.O. Box, you can fax it, email a scanned copy, or simply walk right into any MVD or authorized third-party office to process the whole shebang in person.
Section 4, Troubleshooting Common Issues, or what to do when the bureaucratic process stalls out.
Look, we all know how it goes. Paperwork gets lost in the shuffle, and sometimes the biggest hurdle you face has absolutely nothing to do with the MVD itself. What happens if your red temporary placard is about to expire, but you literally can't get an in-person primary care appointment for weeks just to get this one single form signed? It's incredibly frustrating.
Fortunately, there's a pretty brilliant modern workaround for this. Telehealth services. Places like Handicap MD, they actually offer fully compliant online evaluations. This means licensed clinicians can review your functional mobility and your medical history right from the comfort of your living room. If you're medically approved, they will provide you with the physician-signed Form 960104 documentation, often on the exact same day. You just take that signed form and submit it straight to the A.MVD via fax, email, or in person. It's an absolute game changer of a safety net.
And hey, here is a genuinely surprising fact for our viewers living outside the Phoenix and Tucson metro areas. Arizona has actually set up tele-MVD kiosks in remote offices, like out in Fredonia, for example. These kiosks let rural residents interface directly with MVD representatives via a real-time video link, so you can get the administrative help you need without having to drive hours and hours to a major city. How cool is that? Section 5. Final tips and disclaimer. Staying compliant and legally protected. All right, so here is the absolutely crucial takeaway. The placard travels with the disabled person, not the car itself. You can only use an accessible parking space if the person who has actually issued the credential is the driver or a passenger actively entering or exiting the vehicle at that time. Furthermore, the placard has to hang clearly from your rearview mirror while you're parked. But, and this is a big one, to avoid obstructing your view while driving, you absolutely must take it down while the vehicle is in motion. Sticking to these rules ensures you don't accidentally trigger those massive fines we talked about at the beginning. And just before we completely wrap things up today, a very quick legal note. Disclaimer. The information provided in this explainer is for guidance only. Please make sure to check the Arizona Department of Transportation's official resources or consult with appropriate authorities for the most current and personalized advice, as ADOT makes all the final credentialing decisions. Which leaves us with one final, very important question to think about. Will your current mobility access survive the intense heat of the next Arizona summer? Please don't wait until you're staring down a massive, sweltering parking lot in triple-digit weather to find out your credential is actually invalid. Act early. Check those expiration dates today, ensure your records are up to date, and if you need to, start your renewal or replacement process right now. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and hey, stay safe out there.